We are less than 24 hours away from another possible Canada Post strike after the company rejected a proposed 2-week pause by the Canadian Union of Postal Workers.
Our volumes are way down. Our employees are scared. Our customers are frustrated.
Nothing has changed from day one other than that they actually gave an offer to us. And the fact that they don't want to wait another 2 weeks.
So there you hear both sides. Canada Post's offer includes a 13.6% wage increase, additional personal days, and part-time work on weekends. The union is reviewing this offer but says it falls short on issues like wage demands to keep up with the rising cost of living. So for more on these ongoing negotiations, as the clock is ticking, I am joined by Ian Lee, Associate Professor at Carleton University's Sprott School of Business. So, Mr. Lee, Canada Post workers are facing the possibility of striking again. We know the contract talks remain unresolved. Which are the sticking points? What are the places where they are too far apart right now?
I think it's the fundamental revision of the business model of Canada Post, and more concretely and specifically using part-time workers on the weekend. Canada Post's future is in parcels if it's in anything, because letters are vanishing. Everyone knows that. I predict within 5 to 10 years, letters will vanish from Canada. The future, if there is a future, is parcels. Canada Post is hopelessly uncompetitive in parcels, which is why in the audited annual report, they've lost over 50% market share in 4 years, and their market share continues to decline. That's the core issue. Are they going to transform themselves, reinvent themselves in parcels? And that involves dealing with their lack of competitiveness and their inability to function on the weekend when a lot of courier parcel deliveries take place.
Yeah, just to put some numbers to what you're talking about, Canada Post has lost nearly $3 billion since 2017. They recently secured a $1 billion federal loan just to stay afloat. How is this financial pressure affecting Canada Post's latest offer?
I believe, I don't have any back channel or inside secret information from either CUPW or Canada Post, but I've studied this. I've read every annual report from 1867 to 2024. They were the basis of all my reports, the audited numbers. Canada Post is hemorrhaging cash. I will predict, and I believe as we speak, the internal people in corporate finance and banking, where I worked many, many years ago, 40 years ago, excellent accountants and corporate finance types, they get the data in real time, both the revenues coming in and the expenditures going out for wages, et cetera. I believe that they have a much larger deficit right now than they did last year, because the strike really clobbered them. As your clip said, they've lost customers, they've lost revenues. And so when the audited reports are released for this year, I'm predicting it'll be $1.5 billion to a $2 billion deficit, and that, I think, is shaping what Canada Post is saying and doing.
With private couriers, Ian, like FedEx and UPS handling the majority of parcel deliveries in this country, what further contractual or operational changes does Canada Post need to make in order to remain viable? You said get out of letter sending, and we'll talk about who replaces them in a minute. But how do they need to restructure if they want to stay alive as Canada Post?
In my most recent report from last September, again, based completely on the audited annual numbers in the audited annual reports, I recommended radical surgery. I said they've got to eliminate, the government has to do this, not Canada Post. The government of Canada, the cabinet, has to revise the USO, the Universal Service Obligation, that mandates delivering 5 days a week to 17 million addresses, 52 weeks a year. Even if they have no mail to deliver, they still have to walk up and down those streets. It's just, this is part of the hemorrhaging. That will involve significant downsizing. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. Secondly, they've got to franchise the 3,600 post offices that are still owned by Canada Post, because I go out as part of my research and I just wander into them, rural and urban.
Yeah.
Any time of the day, spring, summer, fall, winter, they're empty. They're empty. They're empty because we are not writing letters. If you don't write letters, you don't go to the post office to buy stamps. And thirdly, they've got to restructure the route structure to look more like parcels. In other words, you only take mail down the streets or in the area when there's mail to deliver, not a mandatory going down 5 days a week. This is radical. It will involve maybe 30,000, 40,000 people becoming redundant, unfortunately. But this is the reality of the digital economy.
Ian, you bring up a really good point about mandate, because people forget that it is a private company, but because they're a crown corporation, there are certain rules and obligations that they have to adhere to that are set by the federal government. I need a quick answer on this one. If Canada Post goes under, then who would handle mail delivery, especially in those rural areas that rely on it?
I'm going to try and answer quickly. I did address that. First off, letter mail is going to vanish in the next 5 to 10 years. I have no doubt about that. So we will have to, Canada Post will have to deliver it while it's phasing out. Point one. Point two, there will be a small number, maybe a couple of 100 million, as opposed to billions of letters in 6, 7, 8 years. They can be sent by courier. You can send a credit card replacement or a passport in an envelope and with a courier as a parcel just as easily as you can send in an envelope. Yes, it'll cost more money. And very quickly, your final point, I believe there is a future for Canada Post. Most importantly, in the rural and remote parts of Canada, the villages and hamlets that do not receive private courier delivery. That is going to be job one for a restructured post office. Not the urban center where we mostly abandon the post office because we use private couriers. It's the rural and remote parts of Canada that need to continue to be served by a restructured Canada Post.
Now that was as quick an Ian Lee answer as I could expect. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great to have you with us.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.